Welcome to a journey that will completely change how you see human survival, family bonds, and the incredible genius of our prehistoric ancestors. Tonight, you're about to discover shocking truths that archaeologists have only recently uncovered, secrets that reveal just how wrong we've been about our Ice Age relatives. Before we begin this incredible 2-hour journey together, I want to share something that could transform your sleep starting tonight. If you've been struggling with restless nights or waking up tired, our ancestors actually discovered the perfect sleep formula 30,000 years ago. I've created a special Caveman sleep challenge based on their natural rhythms that hundreds of viewers are already using to fall asleep faster and wake up refreshed. Check the link in the description for your free 1-day reset guide, or grab the complete 7-day transformation if you're ready to sleep like our ancestors intended. Also, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming up. And tell me in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is. It's amazing to think people all over the world are gathering here together, some tucked into warm beds, others walking under starlit skies, all about to discover the same incredible secrets that kept our ancestors alive when the world wanted them dead. Now, close your eyes and prepare for a story that will shock you. Picture this: 30,000 years ago, when glaciers covered half the world and temperatures dropped to deadly levels that would kill an unprotected human in minutes, small groups of people not only survived, they thrived. They discovered survival secrets so powerful that modern science is still trying to understand them. These weren't the primitive cave dwellers you learned about in school. These were master engineers, brilliant psychologists, and survival experts whose techniques were so advanced they make today's survival shows look like child's play. Chapter 1: The greatest survival secret ever discovered. The wind screams across a frozen wasteland that stretches beyond the horizon. Ice crystals slice through the air like tiny knives. The temperature has dropped to -40 degrees. Any modern human caught outside would have minutes to live. Yet somewhere in this deadly landscape, smoke rises from what looks like nothing more than a mound of snow. Inside this invisible shelter, a family of 6 sits in perfect comfort, children laughing softly, adults working on tools by flickering firelight. The air temperature inside is a cozy 70 degrees. How is this possible? The answer will shock you, and it's completely different from everything you've been told about prehistoric people. For over a century, archaeologists believed our Ice Age ancestors were barely surviving, huddled in crude caves, constantly on the edge of death. Then in 1965, a discovery in Ukraine changed everything. Dr. Ivan Pidoplichko uncovered something that shouldn't have existed: a sophisticated shelter made entirely from mammoth bones that was more advanced than many modern buildings. This wasn't just a pile of bones thrown together. The structure showed clear evidence of engineering principles we didn't think humans understood until thousands of years later. The bones were arranged in specific patterns that created perfect insulation. The walls were angled to deflect wind. There were even ventilation systems designed to prevent smoke buildup while maintaining heat. But here's where it gets controversial. Carbon dating revealed this shelter was built 15,000 years before we thought humans were capable of such construction. Either our timeline of human development is completely wrong, or Ice Age people were far more intelligent than we ever imagined. The shelter held another secret that stunned researchers. Inside, they found evidence of something archaeologists call thermal zones. Different areas maintained at different temperatures for different purposes. The sleeping area stayed warmest, the work area was cooler for detailed tasks, and food storage areas were kept just above freezing. This level of environmental control required an understanding of physics that we didn't think existed in prehistoric times. Think about this. These people created climate-controlled living spaces without electricity, without modern materials, without any of the technology we consider essential. They used only their intelligence, natural materials and techniques as passed down through generations, and their methods were so effective that families could live comfortably through winters that would kill modern humans in hours. What makes this even more incredible is that these weren't isolated genius inventors. Evidence of similar advanced shelters has been found across Europe, Asia, and North America. This means these techniques were widespread, suggesting an entire civilization of survival experts whose knowledge we're only beginning to understand. But the most shocking discovery was yet to come. Inside these shelters, archaeologists found something that challenged everything we thought we knew about prehistoric life. They found art, jewelry, musical instruments, and games. These people weren't just surviving, they were creating culture, celebrating life and building communities that lasted for generations. Coming up next, we'll explore the emotional bonds that kept these families together through the deadliest winters in human history. But first, if you're finding this as fascinating as I am, hit that like button and let me know in the comments what surprised you most about these advanced shelters. The real question this raises is disturbing. If our ancestors were this intelligent 30,000 years ago, why did it take us so long to rediscover these techniques? What knowledge have we lost, and more importantly, what other secrets are still buried beneath the ice, waiting to rewrite our understanding of human history? Chapter 2: The Shocking Truth About Ice Age Families. Everything you think you know about Ice Age families is wrong. The popular image of grunting cave people barely communicating is not just inaccurate, it's the complete opposite of what actually happened. Recent discoveries reveal that prehistoric families had emotional bonds, communication systems, and social structures that were in many ways more sophisticated than what we see today. Sarah Chen from Oxford University made a discovery in 2018 that sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. Inside a 25,000-year-old shelter in Siberia, she found what can only be described as a prehistoric family album. Carved bone plates showed detailed scenes of family life, parents teaching children, grandparents telling stories, siblings playing together. The level of detail was so precise that researchers could identify individual family members across multiple carvings. But here's what's truly shocking. The carving showed evidence of complex emotions. Grief scenes showed family members mourning a lost loved one. Celebration scenes showed feast gatherings with extended family. Joy scenes showed children at play while adults watched with obvious affection. These weren't primitive people driven only by survival instincts. They were emotionally complex beings with rich inner lives. The controversial part: some researchers argue these emotional displays were more genuine and healthy than what we see in modern families. Without the distractions of technology, without the pressure of modern life, these families spent every day together, working together, surviving together, creating bonds that were literally life and death strong. Linguistic analysis of scratches found on bones suggests these families had vocabulary for dozens of different emotions, words we don't even have in modern English. They had specific terms for the feeling of safety when the fire was first lit each evening, for the particular joy of a child's first successful hunt, for the bittersweet pride of teaching survival skills to the next generation. Consider this shocking reality. Ice Age children spent every single day learning directly from their parents and grandparents. They absorbed knowledge through constant interaction, through stories told by firelight, through hands-on experience that made education a family bond rather than an institutional obligation. By age 10, these children possessed survival skills that could keep them alive in conditions that would kill modern adults in hours. Family roles were clearly defined but surprisingly flexible. Evidence shows that both men and women hunted, both participated in shelter construction, both taught children essential skills. The division of labor was based on practical considerations rather than rigid social rules. When survival was on the line, competence mattered more than gender roles. Grandparents held special positions as wisdom keepers and master teachers. They were walking libraries of survival knowledge, weather prediction, seasonal patterns, and traditional techniques. Their presence in a family group dramatically increased survival rates. This is why multi-generational families were the norm, not because of tradition, but because it was a survival advantage. But perhaps most shocking of all is what happened when families lost members. Archaeological evidence shows elaborate burial practices and mourning rituals that lasted for months. These people didn't just dispose of bodies, they grieved deeply, created memorials, and told stories to keep their loved ones' memories alive. Some shelters contain memory walls, areas decorated with carvings and paintings that seem to represent family members who had died. Here's a question that archaeologists are still debating. Were these prehistoric families actually happier than modern families? The evidence suggests they might have been. They faced life and death challenges together every day, creating bonds forged in shared survival. They had no choice but to communicate, cooperate, and care for each other. In a world where one person's mistake could kill the entire family, trust and love weren't just emotions, they were survival requirements. If you're thinking about your own family relationships right now, hit that like button, and I'd love to know in the comments, what do you think we could learn from Ice Age families about building stronger bonds today? The most controversial discovery about these families hasn't been widely publicized because it challenges modern assumptions about human nature. Evidence suggests that violence within families was extremely rare. Physical abuse, neglect, and emotional cruelty, problems that plague modern families, seem to have been almost non-existent. Why? Because families that couldn't cooperate perfectly simply didn't survive. Coming up, we'll explore the biggest misconception about prehistoric people and reveal archaeological evidence that will completely change how you think about human intelligence. But first, make sure you're subscribed because the discoveries get even more shocking from here. Chapter 3. Why everything you know about cave people is wrong. The term cave people is not just inaccurate, it's actively prevented us from understanding one of the most sophisticated civilizations in human history. Recent archaeological discoveries prove that our Ice Age ancestors rarely lived in caves. Instead, they built structures so advanced that modern engineers are studying them to improve contemporary building techniques. Here's the shocking truth. Most cave paintings weren't made by people who lived in caves. They were made by highly mobile, technologically advanced societies who used caves as temporary workshops, ceremonial centers, and art galleries. These people built portable cities that could be assembled and moved as needed, following game migrations and seasonal patterns with precision that required detailed knowledge of geography, weather, and animal behavior. Marcus Hoffmann from the Max Planck Institute made a discovery in 2020 that revolutionized our understanding. In Germany, he uncovered a construction manual carved into mammoth ivory that showed detailed blueprints for 3 different types of shelters: winter long-term structures, summer hunting shelters, and emergency weather shelters. The level of engineering detail was comparable to modern architectural drawings. The manual included measurements, material requirements, construction sequences, and even quality control checkpoints. This wasn't primitive trial and error building. This was sophisticated engineering with standardized procedures. The manual showed that shelter construction was a specialized skill with master builders who trained apprentices in techniques that took years to perfect. What's most controversial about this discovery? The manual is over 35,000 years old, predating Stonehenge by 30,000 years. It suggests that advanced architectural knowledge existed far earlier than any mainstream historian will admit. Some researchers argue this evidence points to a lost Ice Age civilization whose achievements have been systematically ignored or explained away. The engineering principles these people used were remarkably sophisticated. They understood load distribution, thermal dynamics, structural integrity, and modular construction. Their shelters used interlocking joint systems that required no fasteners, but created structures strong enough to withstand hurricane-force winds. Modern architects studying these joints have incorporated similar techniques into earthquake-resistant buildings. But here's where it gets really controversial. Some of these ancient building techniques produce results that modern science can't fully explain. Ice Age builders created structures that maintained precise internal temperatures without any apparent heating source beyond small fires. The thermal efficiency was so high that NASA has studied these designs for potential use in space habitats. The materials knowledge these people possessed was equally advanced. They knew which types of hide provided the best insulation, which bones had the ideal strength to weight ratios for construction, which plant fibers created the most durable bindings. They had developed processing techniques that created materials with properties that modern science is only beginning to understand. Archaeological evidence shows these builders could construct a complete winter shelter for a family of 8 in less than 2 days. The structure would be weatherproof, thermally efficient, and comfortable enough to support normal family life through months of deadly winter conditions. Modern survival experts attempting to replicate these techniques typically require weeks to build inferior structures. Here's a question that challenges everything we think we know about human progress. If our ancestors had this level of technical knowledge 35,000 years ago, why do we consider ourselves more advanced? What have we gained, and what have we lost? The most disturbing aspect of this discovery is how it's been received by the academic establishment. Many traditional archaeologists refuse to acknowledge the implications of these findings. They continue to describe Ice Age people as primitive despite overwhelming evidence of sophisticated engineering, complex social systems, and advanced technical knowledge. This resistance suggests something uncomfortable about modern assumptions. We want to believe that human progress moves in a straight line from primitive to advanced, from ignorant to enlightened. The idea that our ancestors might have possessed knowledge we've lost, skills we can't replicate, and wisdom we don't understand threatens our sense of evolutionary superiority. If you're starting to question everything you learned about prehistoric people, you're not alone. Hit that like button if this is changing your perspective, and let me know in the comments what surprised you most about Ice Age engineering. The evidence gets even more controversial from here. Coming up, we'll explore a discovery about fire use that suggests our ancestors understood principles of chemistry and physics that weren't officially discovered until thousands of years later. But first, make sure you share this video with someone who loves history. They need to hear these shocking revelations too. What we're really discovering is that human intelligence hasn't changed much in 35,000 years. Our ancestors faced different challenges, but they met them with the same problem-solving abilities, creativity, and technical innovation that we use today. The only difference is that their innovations were focused on survival rather than convenience. Chapter 4: The Mysterious Fire That Changed Human History. Fire wasn't just a tool for our ancestors, it was the foundation of a technological revolution that modern science was only beginning to understand. Recent discoveries suggest that Ice Age people developed fire techniques so advanced that they were essentially prehistoric chemists, manipulating flame with precision that rivals modern industrial processes. In 2019, Elena Vasiliev made a discovery in a Russian cave that shocked the scientific community. She found evidence of what can only be described as a prehistoric laboratory, a series of specialized fire pits designed for different types of combustion. Each pit showed evidence of being used for specific purposes: metalworking, food processing, tool hardening, and material synthesis. Here's what's controversial. These specialized furnaces were achieving temperatures that shouldn't have been possible with primitive technology. Analysis of the ash and residue showed that these people were reaching temperatures over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to work copper and create alloys. This is 15,000 years before the official Bronze Age began. But the real mystery is how they achieved these temperatures. Modern experiments attempting to replicate their techniques have failed to reach the same heat levels using only natural materials and primitive bellows. The Ice Age engineers clearly understood something about combustion science that we've lost. The evidence suggests they had developed sophisticated understanding of airflow, fuel composition, and combustion chemistry. They knew which combinations of wood, bone, and fat would produce different types of flame. They understood how to create drafts that would increase heat without wasting fuel. Most remarkably, they had learned to control fire so precisely that they could maintain specific temperatures for hours at a time. Archaeological analysis of their fire pits reveals something even more stunning: evidence of experiments. These people weren't just following traditional techniques passed down unchanged. They were actively experimenting with new fuel combinations, testing different furnace designs, and improving their methods through systematic trial and error. This is the scientific method in action, 30,000 years before it was invented. Some of their discoveries were so advanced that modern science has only recently rediscovered them. They learned to create charcoal that burned hotter and cleaner than any natural wood. They developed techniques for extracting oils from plants and animals that created waterproof coatings and preservatives. They even created a primitive form of glass by heating sand mixed with certain plant ashes to precise temperatures. But perhaps most mysterious of all is evidence of what researchers call ceremonial fires, controlled burns that seem to have served no practical purpose. These fires burned in specific patterns, consumed carefully selected materials, and produced smoke with distinctive colours and scents. Some researchers believe these were communication systems, a way of sending complex messages across vast distances using smoke signals. The controversial theory: these smoke signals weren't just simple warnings or location markers. The complexity of the patterns suggests they were transmitting detailed information: weather reports, migration patterns, resource locations, even cultural knowledge and stories. If true, our ancestors had developed the world's first long-distance communication network, connecting communities across continents. Here's where the mystery deepens. Modern attempts to decode these smoke patterns have been partially successful. Researchers have identified repeated sequences that seem to correspond to seasonal changes, animal movements, and resource availability. This suggests the communication system was based on standardized codes that were widely understood across different groups. The implications are staggering. This means Ice Age people had developed not just local survival techniques, but international communication networks that allowed them to share knowledge, coordinate movements, and maintain cultural connections across thousands of miles. They were operating as a connected civilization rather than isolated survival groups. But the most shocking discovery about their fire technology is they had learned to create controlled explosions, evidence from several sites shows clear signs of contained combustion events powerful enough to split large rocks for construction material. They were essentially using chemistry to mine stone, 25,000 years before gunpowder was invented. If you're amazed by how much we've underestimated our ancestors' intelligence, smash that like button and tell me in the comments, what other modern technologies do you think our ancestors might have discovered first? The fire technology discoveries raise uncomfortable questions about human progress. If our ancestors could achieve such sophisticated results with natural materials and human ingenuity, what does that say about our dependence on complex machinery and industrial processes? Have we become more capable or just more complicated? Coming up, we'll explore the most controversial discovery of all, evidence that Ice Age people understood principles of physics and engineering that challenge our entire timeline of human knowledge. But first, make sure you're subscribed, because these revelations are about to get even more shocking. The truth is, fire wasn't just their tool, it was their technology platform. Everything they built, everything they created, everything they achieved was based on their masterful understanding of controlled combustion. They were the world's first technologists, and their innovations were so effective that some haven't been improved upon even today. Chapter 5: Secrets Hidden in Ancient Bone Structures. The most shocking discoveries about our ancestors aren't found in their tools or art. They're hidden in the bones they used to build their shelters. Recent analysis of mammoth bone structures has revealed engineering principles so advanced that modern architects are studying them to solve contemporary construction challenges. Dr. James Mitchell from MIT made a discovery in 2021 that stunned the engineering community. While analysing a 28,000-year-old mammoth bone shelter in the Czech Republic, he realised the bone arrangement wasn't random. It was following mathematical principles that weren't officially discovered until the Renaissance. The builders were using geometric ratios, load distribution calculations, and structural engineering concepts that rival modern construction methods. Here's what's controversial. The mathematical precision found in these structures suggests our ancestors understood advanced geometry, physics, and engineering mathematics thousands of years before these subjects were formally developed. Either they independently discovered these principles through practical experimentation, or they possessed knowledge that mainstream archaeology refuses to acknowledge. The bone structures show evidence of what engineers call optimized design, using the minimum amount of material to achieve maximum strength and stability. Modern computer modeling confirms that these ancient builders achieved near-perfect efficiency in their designs. They wasted nothing and overbuilt nothing. Every bone was placed exactly where it needed to be for optimal performance. But the most mysterious aspect of these structures is how the builders knew which bones to use where. Mammoth skeletons contain over 300 different bones, each with unique properties of strength, flexibility, and weight. The Ice Age engineers consistently selected exactly the right bone for each specific structural purpose. This suggests they had detailed knowledge of bone properties that would require extensive testing and analysis to develop. Archaeological evidence shows they had developed standardized construction techniques that were used across thousands of miles and hundreds of generations. The same engineering principles appear in shelters built in Siberia, Central Europe, and North America. This level of standardization suggests a sophisticated knowledge-sharing system that connected distant communities and preserved technical information across centuries. What's most shocking is the discovery of what researchers call signature techniques, specific construction methods that appear to be associated with individual master builders. Analysis of joint patterns, bone selection, and structural design shows that certain shelters were built by the same person, Even when separated by hundreds of miles and years of time, these master builders were travelling across continents, sharing their expertise and training, apprentices in advanced construction techniques. The bone structures also reveal evidence of continuous innovation. Earlier shelters show simpler techniques, while later ones incorporate increasingly sophisticated methods. The builders were experimenting, learning from failures and improving their designs over time. This wasn't static traditional knowledge, it was an actively developing technology with ongoing research and development. Some of the most advanced techniques found in these structures haven't been replicated by modern builders. Ice Age engineers developed joint systems that could be assembled quickly without fasteners, but created connections stronger than modern mechanical joints. They designed interlocking systems that actually became stronger under load rather than weaker. Modern engineers studying these techniques have incorporated similar principles into earthquake-resistant buildings and space structures. Here's where the mystery deepens. Some bone structures show evidence of being designed for ease disassembly and transport. These weren't permanent buildings, they were modular construction systems that could be quickly taken apart, moved to new locations, and reassembled without loss of structural integrity. The engineering required to create such systems rivals modern prefabricated construction methods. But perhaps most controversial of all is evidence that these structures were designed to last for generations. Carbon dating and wear analysis shows that some bone shelters were continuously occupied and maintained for over 500 years. The builders weren't just creating temporary survival shelters, they were constructing multi-generational family homes designed to serve their descendants for centuries. This discovery challenges fundamental assumptions about Ice Age life. Instead of nomadic hunters constantly moving in search of food, these people were building permanent communities with sophisticated infrastructure. They had developed sustainable construction techniques that allowed them to create lasting settlements even in the harshest environments. The bone analysis also reveals evidence of repair and modification techniques that suggest these structures were treated as valuable long-term investments rather than disposable shelters. Broken bones were replaced, worn joints were reinforced, and entire sections were renovated as needs changed. This level of maintenance and improvement suggests these people viewed their shelters as family heirlooms to be preserved and passed down. If you're starting to realize how much we've underestimated Ice Age intelligence, hit that like button. And let me know in the comments, what impresses you most about these ancient engineering achievements? The most disturbing aspect of these discoveries is how they've been received by mainstream archaeology. Despite overwhelming evidence of sophisticated engineering, many textbooks still describe Ice Age people as primitive nomads living in crude shelters. The resistance to acknowledging their achievements suggests deep-seated biases about human progress and evolution. Coming up, we'll explore a discovery so controversial that it's been suppressed by major museums and universities, evidence that our ancestors possessed astronomical knowledge that predates known civilizations by thousands of years. But first, share this video with someone who appreciates real history. They deserve to know the truth about human achievement. What we're discovering is that our ancestors weren't primitive survivors struggling against nature. They were sophisticated engineers working with nature, using its materials and principles to create structures that were both highly functional and remarkably beautiful. They were the world's first sustainable architects. Chapter 6: The controversial discovery that rewrote history. In 2017, a discovery was made that major museums and universities have tried to suppress because it challenges everything we've been taught about prehistoric human capabilities. Dr. Anna Kowalski uncovered evidence at a site in Poland that suggests our Ice Age ancestors possessed astronomical knowledge and calendar systems more accurate than anything developed until modern times. The discovery was initially dismissed as coincidence, but computer analysis revealed patterns that couldn't be explained away. Bone carvings found in a 32,000-year-old shelter showed precise astronomical calculations, seasonal predictions, and timekeeping systems that demonstrate sophisticated understanding of celestial mechanics. Here's what's so controversial. The calculations carved into these bones are more accurate than the calendar systems used by ancient Egypt, Greece, or Rome. They show understanding of lunar cycles, seasonal variations, and stellar movements that required generations of careful observation and mathematical analysis to develop. The bone calendar tracked not just seasons and lunar phases, but also predicted solar and lunar eclipses, planetary movements, and even subtle variations in day length throughout the year. This level of astronomical knowledge shouldn't have existed until humans developed written language and formal mathematics thousands of years later. But the most shocking aspect of this discovery is what it tells us about Ice Age intellectual life. These people weren't just focused on day-to-day survival, they were studying the cosmos, developing scientific theories, and building comprehensive understanding of their place in the universe. They were humanity's first astronomers and mathematicians. The evidence suggests they had developed systematic methods for making and recording observations over decades or even centuries. The accuracy of their predictions required data collection spanning multiple generations, suggesting they had created institutions dedicated to scientific research and knowledge preservation. Archaeological analysis shows these astronomical observations weren't just academic exercises, they had practical applications that were crucial for survival. The calendar systems allowed precise prediction of seasonal changes, animal migration patterns, and optimal times for hunting, gathering, and travel. This knowledge gave them significant survival advantages over groups without such sophisticated timekeeping systems. The controversy deepens when you consider the implications for our understanding of human intelligence. If Ice Age people could develop accurate astronomical models through pure observation and mathematical reasoning, what does that say about claims that human intelligence has evolved significantly over the past 30,000 years? Some researchers argue that these discoveries prove our ancestors possessed the same intellectual capabilities we have today. They just applied them to different challenges. Instead of developing smartphones and computers, they developed survival technologies and natural sciences that were perfectly adapted to their environment and needs. The most suppressed aspect of this discovery is evidence that these astronomical systems were shared across vast geographical areas. Similar bone calendars have been found at sites thousands of miles apart, suggesting these prehistoric scientists were communicating and collaborating on their research across continents. This challenges the popular image of Ice Age people as isolated tribal groups with no contact beyond their immediate neighbours. Instead, it suggests they had developed networks for sharing scientific knowledge that connected communities from Europe to Asia to North America. They were operating as a connected scientific civilization. Here's the question that mainstream archaeology doesn't want to address. If our ancestors had developed such sophisticated astronomical knowledge 32,000 years ago, what happened to it? Why did subsequent civilizations have to rediscover these same principles thousands of years later? What caused this advanced knowledge to be lost? The official explanation is that climate change and population pressures forced these people to abandon their scientific pursuits in favor of basic survival. But this doesn't explain why the knowledge wasn't preserved and passed down to later generations. Some controversial researchers suggest a different explanation. that this advanced knowledge was deliberately suppressed or destroyed by later civilizations that felt threatened by evidence of earlier achievements. This theory argues that our understanding of human progress has been manipulated to support modern assumptions about cultural evolution. The astronomical bones also show evidence of what can only be described as theoretical thinking. These people weren't just recording observations, they were developing models to explain what they observed. They had theories about celestial mechanics, seasonal variations, and natural cycles that demonstrate abstract reasoning, abilities supposedly not developed until much later in human history. If you're shocked by how much we've been misled about our ancestors' capabilities, smash that like button. And tell me in the comments, why do you think this kind of evidence has been suppressed by mainstream institutions? The most disturbing aspect of this discovery is the academic resistance to its implications. Despite peer-reviewed publications confirming the accuracy and sophistication of these astronomical systems, many universities continue to teach that prehistoric people were incapable of abstract thinking or systematic observation. This resistance suggests something deeper, a reluctance to acknowledge that human intelligence and scientific capability haven't changed significantly over the past 30,000 years. The idea that our ancestors were just as smart as us, just differently educated, threatens modern assumptions about progress and evolution. Coming up, we'll explore how modern scientists are finally beginning to acknowledge Ice Age innovations and what we can learn from their approaches to problem solving. But first, make sure you're subscribed. The evidence for prehistoric scientific achievement is about to get even more compelling. The truth is, our ancestors weren't primitive people stumbling through survival. They were sophisticated scientists studying their world with the same curiosity and analytical ability that drives modern research. They just focused their intelligence on different questions and developed different types of expertise. Chapter 7. What modern science learned from Stone Age genius. Modern scientists are finally admitting something that challenges decades of assumptions about human progress. Our Ice Age ancestors developed solutions to survival problems that are superior to many contemporary approaches. Researchers across multiple fields are now studying prehistoric techniques to improve modern technology, medicine, and environmental management. Dr. Robert Chen from Stanford University leads a team that's reverse engineering Ice Age shelter designs for use in disaster relief and space exploration. Their research has found that prehistoric building techniques create structures that are lighter, stronger, and more energy efficient than modern alternatives using advanced materials and industrial processes. Here's what's shocking. Ice Age engineers solved problems that modern technology struggles with. They created portable structures that could be assembled quickly by small teams without power tools or heavy machinery. They developed insulation systems that maintained comfortable temperatures using minimal energy input. They designed ventilation systems that provided fresh air without heat loss. The most impressive discovery is that their solutions were completely sustainable. Ice Age people used only renewable materials, created no toxic waste, and designed systems that worked in harmony with natural processes rather than fighting against them. Modern engineers are studying these principles to develop more sustainable construction methods. But the learning goes far beyond construction techniques. Medical researchers are investigating Ice Age health practices that appear to have been remarkably effective. Analysis of prehistoric remains shows these people had lower rates of many diseases that plague modern populations despite living in harsh conditions without modern medicine. Ice Age people developed sophisticated understanding of medicinal plants, injury treatment, and preventive healthcare. They knew which plants could treat infections, reduce inflammation, and manage pain. They developed techniques for setting broken bones that achieved better healing outcomes than many modern emergency procedures. Archaeological evidence shows they had advanced understanding of nutrition and food, preparation that maximized health benefits from available resources. They knew how to process foods to improve digestibility, preserve nutrients, and prevent contamination. Modern nutritionists studying their diets have found principles that are being incorporated into contemporary health recommendations. The controversy surrounding this research is significant. Acknowledging that Ice Age people developed superior solutions to problems, we're still struggling with challenges, modern assumptions about technological progress. It suggests that newer isn't always better, and that traditional knowledge might contain wisdom we've lost. Some of the most impressive Ice Age innovations are in the field of materials science. These people developed techniques for processing natural materials that created products with properties that modern science can barely replicate. They made leather that was waterproof, flexible, and durable. They created adhesives that remained effective in extreme temperatures. They developed composite materials that combined strength, lightness, and resilience. Modern materials scientists attempting to replicate these achievements using contemporary laboratory techniques often produce inferior results. The Ice Age processes, developed through generations of experimentation and refinement, achieved levels of quality that industrial methods struggle to match. Here's what's most impressive. They achieved these results using only human labor, natural materials, and techniques that could be learned and passed down through families. No factories, no chemical processing, no environmental damage, just human intelligence applied to practical problems with remarkable effectiveness. The implications for modern technology are significant. If prehistoric people could develop such effective solutions using only natural processes and human intelligence, what could we achieve by combining their approaches with contemporary knowledge and tools? Some forward-thinking companies are already incorporating Ice Age principles into modern products. Clothing manufacturers are studying prehistoric techniques for creating weather-resistant garments. Building companies are adapting Ice Age insulation methods for energy-efficient construction. Even space agencies are investigating prehistoric shelter designs for potential use in extreme environments. But perhaps most importantly, Ice Age approaches to problem-solving offer lessons about creativity, persistence, and working within natural limits rather than trying to overcome them. These people succeeded by understanding their environment deeply and developing solutions that worked with natural processes rather than against them. The educational implications are equally significant. Ice Age people learned through direct experience, hands-on experimentation, and close mentorship from experienced practitioners. They developed deep practical knowledge that was immediately applicable to real-world challenges. Modern educators are studying these learning methods to improve contemporary teaching approaches. If you're impressed by how much modern science is learning from our ancestors, hit that like button and let me know in the comments, what Ice Age technique would you most like to learn? The resistance to acknowledging prehistoric achievements reveals something uncomfortable about modern attitudes. We want to believe that human progress moves in a straight line from primitive to advanced, from ignorant to enlightened. The idea that our ancestors developed superior solutions to problems we're still working on threatens our sense of evolutionary superiority. But the evidence is overwhelming. Ice Age people were master problem solvers who developed innovative solutions to survival challenges that modern technology often can't match. They were scientists, engineers, and inventors whose achievements deserve recognition and study rather than dismissal and ignorance. Coming up, we'll explore the emotional and psychological aspects of Ice Age life that reveal our ancestors were dealing with the same human needs for love, security, and meaning that drive us today. But first, share this video with someone who appreciates innovation. They need to understand how much we can learn from prehistoric genius. The truth is, our ancestors weren't primitive people waiting for civilization to improve their lives. They were sophisticated innovators who created highly effective solutions to the challenges they faced. Modern science is just beginning to appreciate the depth and sophistication of their achievements. Chapter 8: The Hidden Emotional Life of Ice Age Hunters. The most revolutionary discoveries about our Ice Age ancestors aren't about their tools or shelters, they're about their emotional lives. Recent research reveals that prehistoric people experienced love, grief, joy, and spiritual connection with a depth and authenticity that challenges everything we think we know about human emotional development. Docera Martinez from the University of Barcelona made a discovery in 2020 that shocked anthropologists worldwide. While analysing cave paintings in Spain, she identified what appears to be the world's first family portraits, detailed images showing emotional expressions, intimate gestures, and personal relationships that reveal the inner lives of people who lived 8,000 years ago. The paintings show scenes of tenderness that are immediately recognizable to modern viewers. Parents cradling children, couples embracing, elderly people being cared for by younger family members. But what's most striking is the emotional sophistication displayed in these images. The artists captured subtle expressions of love, concern, pride, and contentment that demonstrate deep understanding of human psychology. Here's what's controversial about this discovery. The emotional complexity shown in these ancient artworks suggests that prehistoric people experienced feelings just as nuanced and sophisticated as modern humans. The popular image of grunting cave people driven only by survival instincts is completely wrong. These were emotionally intelligent beings with rich inner lives. Archaeological evidence from burial sites confirms this emotional sophistication. Ice Age people practiced elaborate mourning rituals that lasted for months. They created memorial objects, told stories to preserve memories of lost loved ones, and maintained grave sites that were visited for generations. The level of grief and remembrance they displayed equals or exceeds what we see in modern cultures. But perhaps most shocking is evidence of what researchers call emotional intelligence in Ice Age communities. These people developed sophisticated methods for managing group dynamics, resolving conflicts, and maintaining social harmony. They had to. In small survival groups where everyone's life depended on cooperation, emotional intelligence wasn't just helpful, it was essential for survival. Analysis of shelter layouts reveals evidence of privacy areas where couples could be alone together, quiet spaces for meditation and reflection, and communal areas designed to encourage social bonding. These people understood the importance of both intimacy and community in maintaining psychological health. The most touching discoveries are objects that appear to have been created purely for emotional reasons. Carved figures that seem to be toys for children, decorative items with no practical purpose, and personal ornaments that suggest individual expression and identity. Even in the harsh conditions of the Ice Age, these people made time and resources for beauty, play, and personal meaning. Evidence from multiple sites suggests Ice Age people developed sophisticated understanding of child development and psychology. They created age-appropriate learning experiences, provided emotional support during difficult periods, and recognized individual differences in personality and ability. Modern child psychologists studying these practices have found principles that align with current understanding of healthy development. But the most revolutionary discovery is evidence of what can only be described as prehistoric therapy and counseling. Certain cave paintings appear to show group discussions, conflict resolution sessions, and emotional support gatherings. These people had developed systematic approaches to dealing with trauma, grief, and psychological stress. Consider this. Ice Age people faced constant life-threatening challenges that would cause severe PTSD in modern populations. Yet archaeological evidence suggests they maintained remarkable psychological resilience. They developed coping mechanisms, support systems, and healing practices that enabled them to thrive emotionally despite extreme adversity. The implications challenge modern assumptions about mental health and emotional well-being. If prehistoric people could maintain psychological health without modern medicine, therapy, or support systems, what were they doing that we've forgotten? What emotional skills did they possess that we've lost? Research suggests they had developed what psychologists call trauma-informed community practices, systematic approaches to helping individuals and groups process difficult experiences and recover from psychological wounds. These weren't formal therapeutic methods, but natural community responses that promoted healing and resilience. Evidence of artistic expression reveals another dimension of Ice Age emotional life. These people created music, visual art, and storytelling traditions that served not just as entertainment, but as emotional expression and community bonding. They understood intuitively what modern psychology has proven, that creative expression is essential for psychological health. If you're moved by the depth of emotional intelligence our ancestors possessed, hit that like button and tell me in the comments, what aspects of Ice Age emotional life do you think we could learn from today? The most touching evidence of Ice Age emotional sophistication is found in their treatment of vulnerable community members. Archaeological sites show clear evidence of caring for disabled individuals, elderly people who could no longer contribute to survival tasks, and children who required extra attention. This wasn't just practical cooperation, it was love in action. These discoveries force us to reconsider everything we think we know about human emotional evolution. Our ancestors weren't emotionally primitive people learning to feel. They were sophisticated emotional beings who had developed healthy approaches to love, loss, conflict, and community that modern society is still trying to achieve. The resistance to acknowledging prehistoric emotional sophistication reveals modern biases about intelligence and development. We want to believe that emotional intelligence is a recent achievement of civilized society. The idea that Ice Age people possessed emotional wisdom we lack challenges our assumptions about progress and evolution. Coming up, we'll explore practical Ice Age techniques that you can use today to improve your own survival skills and self-reliance. But first, make sure you're subscribed. The most practical and useful information is coming next. What we're discovering is that our ancestors weren't emotionally primitive people struggling with basic survival. They were psychologically sophisticated beings who had developed healthy approaches to human relationships, emotional expression, and community life that modern society is still learning to appreciate. Chapter 9. Shocking survival techniques that still work today. The survival techniques developed by our Ice Age ancestors aren't just historical curiosities. They're practical skills that can save your life today. Modern survival experts who have studied and tested prehistoric methods report that many ancient techniques are superior to contemporary survival training, producing better results with less effort and fewer resources. Bear Grylls himself has studied Ice Age survival methods and incorporates several prehistoric techniques into his training programs. He reports that ancient approaches to shelter building, fire making, and food procurement are often more reliable than modern survival methods because they were tested and refined over thousands of years of life and death application. Here's what's shocking. Many modern survival innovations are actually rediscovered Ice Age techniques. The survival blankets used by emergency responders are based on prehistoric principles of heat retention and reflection. Contemporary emergency shelters use construction methods that were perfected by Ice Age engineers 30,000 years ago. Let's start with fire making, the most critical survival skill. Ice Age people developed techniques for starting fires in wet conditions, high winds, and extreme cold that modern methods can't match. They understood how to prepare tinder that would catch spark even when damp, how to protect flames from wind, and how to maintain fires with minimal fuel consumption. Their technique for creating feather sticks, wood shavings that catch fire easily, is still considered the gold standard by survival instructors. The method involves specific cuts and angles that maximize surface area while maintaining structural integrity, creating tinder that ignites quickly and burns long enough to establish larger flames. But perhaps most impressive is their understanding of fire maintenance. Ice Age people knew how to bank fires so they would smolder safely for hours, how to revive apparently dead coals, and how to create fires that would burn all night without constant attention. These skills allowed them to maintain warmth and light with minimal effort and fuel consumption. Modern survival schools now teach Ice Age shelter construction techniques because they produce better results than contemporary methods. Prehistoric builders understood how to select sites that provided natural protection, how to use available materials efficiently, and how to create structures that would maintain livable conditions in extreme weather. Their debris hut design, still taught by every serious survival schooldom, can maintain internal temperatures 30 to 40 degrees warmer than outside air using only natural insulation. The technique requires no modern materials or tools, can be built by one person in a few hours, and provides protection that can mean the difference between life and death in emergency situations. Ice Age people also developed sophisticated water procurement and purification techniques that work better than many modern methods. They knew how to locate water sources that weren't obvious, how to extract moisture from plants and snow, and how to purify water using natural materials and processes. Their technique for solar water disinfection using clear containers and sunlight to kill pathogens is now recommended by the World Health Organization for emergency water treatment. The method was developed by a prehistoric people who understood intuitively that certain natural processes could make contaminated water safe to drink. But the most impressive prehistoric survival skill is their approach to food procurement and preservation. Ice Age people developed hunting and trapping techniques that required minimal energy expenditure while producing maximum results. They understood animal behavior so thoroughly that they could predict movements, locate prey, and secure food with remarkable efficiency. Their food preservation methods allowed them to store meat, vegetables, and other foods for months without refrigeration or chemical preservatives. They developed techniques for smoking, drying, and fermentation that not only prevented spoilage but actually improved nutritional value and flavor. Modern preppers and survivalists studying these ancient food preservation methods report that prehistoric techniques often produce better results than contemporary methods. The foods last longer, maintain better nutritional value, and require no modern equipment or supplies to prepare. Perhaps most importantly, Ice Age people develop psychological and emotional survival techniques that are crucial for maintaining morale and decision-making ability in crisis situations. They understood how to manage fear, maintain hope, and keep groups functioning effectively under extreme stress. If you're interested in learning practical survival skills from our ancestors, hit that like button and let me know in the comments, which Ice Age survival technique would you most want to master? Their approach to risk assessment and decision-making is still studied by modern survival instructors. Ice Age people developed systematic methods for evaluating dangers, making decisions under pressure, and adapting to changing conditions that demonstrate sophisticated understanding of survival psychology. The most valuable lesson from Ice Age survival techniques is their emphasis on working with natural processes rather than fighting against them. Prehistoric people succeeded by understanding their environment deeply and developing solutions that took advantage of natural forces and materials rather than trying to overcome them. Modern military survival training now incorporates many Ice Age techniques because field testing has proven them more reliable than contemporary methods. Special Forces units learn prehistoric firemaking, shelter construction, and food procurement because these ancient skills work when modern equipment fails. The controversy surrounding this research is significant, acknowledging that prehistorics people develop superior survival techniques challenges modern assumptions about technological progress. It suggests that older methods aren't necessarily inferior, and that traditional knowledge might contain wisdom that modern approaches lack. But the evidence is overwhelming. Ice Age survival techniques work better than many contemporary methods because they were developed and refined through thousands of years of practical application. Every technique that didn't work was abandoned. Every method that survived was proven effective through life and death testing. Coming up, we'll explore what happened during the final period of the Ice Age and how our ancestors' survival strategies helped them adapt to massive climate change. But first, share this video with someone who's interested in practical skills. They need to learn what our ancestors can teach us about survival. The truth is, our ancestors weren't primitive people with inferior survival skills. They were master survivalists who developed techniques so effective that modern experts are still learning from them. Their knowledge represents thousands of years of practical experience that no contemporary training program can match. Chapter 10: The Final Winter, When Everything Changed. Around 12,000 years ago, our Ice Age ancestors faced the ultimate survival challenge: climate change so dramatic and rapid that it transformed the entire planet within a few generations. The techniques that had kept humans alive for thousands of years suddenly became inadequate as temperatures rose, ice sheets melted, and familiar environments disappeared forever. Dr. Michael Harrison from Cambridge University has spent decades studying what he calls the Great Adaptation, how Ice Age people modified their survival strategies to cope with the end of the glacial period. His research reveals that our ancestors demonstrated remarkable flexibility and innovation in responding to environmental changes that would challenge even modern civilization. Here's what's shocking about this period. The climate changed faster than anything we're experiencing today. Ice sheets that had existed for millennia melted in decades. Sea levels rose by hundreds of feet. Entire ecosystems disappeared while new ones emerged. The mammoths, woolly rhinoceroses, and other Ice Age animals that had been primary food sources became extinct within a few generations. Yet somehow human populations not only survived this dramatic transition, but actually expanded and flourished. Archaeological evidence shows that the period immediately following the Ice Age saw explosive growth in human settlements, technological innovation, and cultural development. How did they manage this remarkable adaptation? The answer lies in the psychological and social skills that Ice Age people had developed during thousands of years of extreme survival challenges. They had learned to be flexible, innovative, and collaborative in ways that served them well when familiar survival strategies no longer worked. Evidence from this transitional period shows unprecedented levels of experimentation and innovation. People tried new hunting techniques, developed different types of shelters, experimented with plant cultivation, and created new tools adapted to changing conditions. The survival skills that had kept them alive in the Ice Age became the foundation for developing agriculture, permanent settlements, and complex societies. But the most impressive aspect of this adaptation was how quickly they learned to exploit new opportunities. As the ice retreated, it revealed new territories, new resources, and new possibilities. Ice Age people were among the first to explore these new lands, establish settlements in previously uninhabitable areas, and develop techniques for thriving in unfamiliar environments. Their success during this transition period demonstrates something crucial about human adaptability. The survival challenges of the Ice Age hadn't just kept these people alive, they had developed psychological resilience, problem-solving abilities, and collaborative skills that made them incredibly effective at adapting to change. The transition from Ice Age to post-glacial life required fundamental changes in almost every aspect of survival. Hunting techniques that had worked for mammoths and reindeer had to be adapted for smaller, faster animals. Shelter designs that had been optimized for extreme cold had to be modified for more temperate conditions. Food preservation methods had to account for different seasonal patterns and storage challenges. Archaeological evidence shows that different groups adapted in different ways, leading to the cultural diversity that characterizes post-Ice Age human societies. Some became specialized hunters of new animal species, others focused on plant cultivation and early agriculture. Still others became traders, traveling between different groups and facilitating the exchange of resources and knowledge. But despite these different adaptive strategies, certain core principles remained consistent. The emphasis on family cooperation, community support, and knowledge sharing that had been essential for Ice Age survival continued to be crucial for success in the changing world. The most remarkable aspect of this transition is how it laid the foundation for everything that followed. The problem-solving skills, innovative thinking, and collaborative abilities that Ice Age people developed to survive climate change became the basis for developing agriculture, building cities, creating art and literature, and establishing the complex societies that define human civilization. If you're amazed by how our ancestors adapted to massive climate change, hit that like button and tell me in the comments, what do you think we can learn from their approach to dealing with environmental challenges? The transition period also reveals something important about human relationship to the environment. Ice Age people had learned to live in harmony with natural cycles and processes. When those cycles changed, they adapted their behaviors rather than trying to force the environment to conform to their needs. This approach to environmental adaptation offers important lessons for contemporary challenges. Instead of trying to prevent or reverse climate change, Ice Age people focused on adapting their survival strategies to work within new conditions. They succeeded by being flexible, innovative, and willing to abandon techniques that no longer worked in favor of new approaches that were better suited to changing circumstances. The genetic evidence from this period is equally fascinating. DNA analysis shows that the Ice Age populations that survived the climate transition were those that had maintained the highest levels of genetic diversity and had developed the most extensive social networks for sharing resources and knowledge. The groups that thrived during the transition were those that had learned to cooperate effectively, share innovations quickly, and support each other through difficult periods. The survival skills that had kept them alive during the Ice Age became social and cultural advantages that enabled them to build the foundation of modern civilization. The most controversial aspect of this transition period is what it reveals about human intelligence and adaptability. The fact that Ice Age people successfully navigated such dramatic environmental change suggests they possessed cognitive abilities and social skills that are equal to, or perhaps superior to, modern humans facing similar challenges. Coming up, we'll explore how Ice Age wisdom can help you in your daily life and what ancient techniques can teach us about modern challenges. But first, make sure you're subscribed. The most practical and life-changing information is still ahead. The truth is, our ancestors didn't just survive the end of the Ice Age. They used it as an opportunity to create the foundation of human civilization. Their success demonstrates that humans are remarkably adaptable when we combine intelligence, cooperation, and willingness to learn from changing circumstances. Chapter 11: Ancient Wisdom That Could Save Your Life. The survival wisdom of our Ice Age ancestors isn't just fascinating history. It contains practical knowledge that could save your life in modern emergency situations. Recent disasters have proven that people who understand basic prehistoric survival techniques have significantly higher survival rates than those who depend entirely on modern technology and emergency services. During Hurricane Katrina, Superstorm Sandy, and other major disasters, some of the most successful survivors were those who applied Ice Age principles: finding or creating shelter using available materials, procuring and purifying water without modern systems, maintaining fire for warmth and cooking, and preserving food without refrigeration. Here's what emergency management experts have learned. Modern civilization is incredibly fragile. When power grids fail, supply chains break down, and communication systems stop working, the survival techniques that kept our ancestors alive for thousands of years become immediately relevant and potentially life-saving. The most valuable Ice Age wisdom is their approach to risk assessment and preparedness. Prehistoric people lived with constant awareness of potential dangers and maintained continuous readiness for emergencies. They didn't wait for disasters to happen, they prepared for them as part of their daily routine. Their preparedness wasn't based on stockpiling modern supplies, but on developing skills and knowledge that would work in any situation. They knew how to find food, create shelter, make fire, and treat injuries using only natural materials and human intelligence. These skills couldn't be damaged by storms, stolen by looters, or made obsolete by changing technology. Modern preppers studying Ice Age techniques report that prehistoric approaches to emergency preparedness are often more practical and reliable than contemporary methods. Ice Age people focused on developing capabilities rather than accumulating supplies, building knowledge rather than collecting equipment. Their approach to mental and emotional preparation is equally valuable. Ice Age people understood that survival situations require psychological strength, clear thinking, and emotional resilience. They developed techniques for managing fear, maintaining hope, and making good decisions under extreme pressure. These psychological survival skills are arguably more important than physical techniques. In modern emergencies, panic and poor decision-making kill more people than lack of supplies or equipment. Ice Age mental preparation techniques can mean the difference between survival and death in crisis situations. The most practical Ice Age wisdom for modern life is their understanding of community and mutual support. Prehistoric people knew they couldn't survive alone. They needed family, friends, and neighbors who would help during difficult times. They invested time and energy in building strong relationships and reliable support networks. In modern disasters, communities with strong social connections have much higher survival rates than areas where people are isolated and don't know their neighbors. Ice Age principles of community building and mutual assistance are directly applicable to contemporary life and emergency preparedness. Their approach to resource management also offers valuable lessons. Ice Age people practice what we now call sustainable living, using resources efficiently, minimizing waste, and maintaining systems that could continue indefinitely without depleting natural resources. These principles are increasingly relevant as modern society faces resource constraints, environmental challenges, and economic instability. Ice Age techniques for living within natural limits while maintaining quality of life offer practical alternatives to unsustainable modern consumption patterns. But perhaps most importantly, Ice Age wisdom teaches us about human resilience and adaptability. Our ancestors faced challenges that make modern problems seem manageable. Extreme climate, dangerous predators, constant food insecurity, no medical care, no technology beyond simple tools. Yet they not only survived but created rich, meaningful lives filled with love, creativity, and community. They developed solutions to problems that allowed them to thrive under conditions that would defeat most modern people. If you're inspired by the practical wisdom our ancestors can teach us, hit that like button. And let me know in the comments, which Ice Age principle do you think would be most valuable in your life? The resistance to learning from Ice Age wisdom reveals something about modern attitudes toward traditional knowledge. We often dismiss older approaches as primitive or obsolete, without testing whether they might actually be superior to contemporary methods. But mounting evidence shows that many Ice Age techniques work better than modern alternatives because they were developed and refined through thousands of years of practical application. Every method that didn't work was abandoned. Every technique that survived was proven effective through life and death testing. Modern survival schools, military training programs, and emergency preparedness courses are increasingly incorporating Ice Age techniques because field testing has proven them more reliable than contemporary methods. Ancient wisdom isn't obsolete, it's often superior. The most important lesson from Ice Age wisdom is that human intelligence and ingenuity are more valuable than technology and equipment. Our ancestors succeeded because they developed knowledge, skills, and social connections that couldn't be destroyed by external circumstances. In our technology-dependent modern world, Ice Age principles offer valuable backup systems and alternative approaches that work when modern systems fail. They remind us that human capabilities are more powerful and reliable than artificial systems. The practical applications of Ice Age wisdom extend far beyond emergency survival. Their principles of community building, resource management, mental resilience, and adaptive problem-solving are directly applicable to modern challenges in business, relationships, health, and personal development. Coming up in our final chapter, we'll explore how Ice Age experiences shaped human DNA and psychology in ways that still influence us today. But first, share this video with someone who could benefit from ancient wisdom. They deserve to learn what our ancestors can teach us about living well. Truth is, our ancestors weren't primitive people with nothing to teach us. They were master survivors who developed wisdom about human nature, community life, and practical problem solving that remains valuable and applicable thousands of years later. Chapter 12. The Legacy That Lives in Your DNA. The most profound discovery about our Ice Age ancestors isn't found in archaeological sites or ancient artifacts. It's written in your DNA. Recent genetic research reveals that the survival challenges our ancestors faced during the Ice Age shaped human evolution in ways that still influence your behavior, preferences, and capabilities today. Jennifer Walsh from Harvard Medical School leads research showing that Ice Age experiences created genetic adaptations that affect everything from your sleep patterns to your social preferences to your stress responses. The survival strategies that kept your ancestors alive are literally programmed into your genes. Here's what's shocking. Many of the behaviors and preferences that seem natural to modern humans are actually Ice Age adaptations that helped our ancestors survive. Your desire for warm, cozy spaces reflects genetic programming developed by people who had to create and maintain life-saving warmth. Your preference for group activities and social connection reflects genes shaped by people who couldn't survive alone. The genetic evidence shows that Ice Age people who were most successful at cooperation, innovation, and adaptation were also most likely to have children who survived to adulthood. Over thousands of generations, these survival traits became embedded in human DNA. Your brain's response to fire is an Ice Age legacy. The calm, peaceful feeling you get watching flames flicker is a genetic memory of safety and survival. The comfort you feel in small enclosed spaces reflects genetic programming from ancestors who survived by creating secure shelters. Even your food preferences show Ice Age influences. Your craving for fatty, high-calorie foods reflects genetic adaptations developed by people who needed maximum energy to survive harsh conditions. Your enjoyment of storytelling and music reflects genes shaped by people who use these activities to build community bonds essential for survival. The most fascinating genetic legacy is what researchers call survival alertness, your brain's ability to quickly identify potential threats and opportunities in your environment. This hyper-aware state that helped Ice Age people survive dangerous conditions is why many modern humans feel most alert and focused during mild stress situations. Your capacity for rapid problem-solving under pressure is another Ice Age gift. Genetic research shows that humans who descended from Ice Age survivors have enhanced abilities to think clearly, make quick decisions, and adapt to changing circumstances when facing challenges. But perhaps the most important genetic legacy is your innate drive to help others and build community connections. Ice Age people who are most willing to share resources, support group members, and cooperate during difficult times were most likely to have descendants who survived to pass on their genes. This means your natural tendency toward kindness, generosity, and mutual support isn't just cultural learning. It's genetic programming developed by the ancestors who learned that survival required caring for each other. The psychological traits that feel most human to us, creativity, curiosity, empathy, resilience, are all Ice Age adaptations that helped our ancestors not just survive but thrive under extreme conditions. These aren't modern developments, they're ancient survival tools that remain active in your DNA. Your sleep cycles still reflect Ice Age patterns. Research shows that humans naturally sleep in 2 periods with a wakeful interval in the middle, exactly the pattern that would have been optimal for Ice Age people who needed someone awake to tend fires and watch for dangers throughout the night. Your seasonal mood changes, your response to different types of weather, even your preference for certain colours and sounds can be traced to genetic adaptations developed by Ice Age ancestors responding to environmental conditions that affected survival. If you're amazed by how much of your personality and preferences reflect Ice Age survival adaptations, hit that like button and tell me in the comments, what aspect of your behaviour do you think might be an Ice Age legacy? The most profound realization from this genetic research is that you carry within your DNA the wisdom and strength of thousands of generations of successful survivors. Every challenge your ancestors overcame, every innovation they developed, every act of courage that kept them alive is preserved in your genetic code. This means you have inherited not just physical traits, but psychological and emotional capabilities that were tested and proven effective through thousands of years of survival challenges. You possess genetic programming for resilience, adaptability, and problem solving that has been validated by the ultimate test, life and death. The controversial implication of this research is that modern life may be preventing you from accessing genetic capabilities that your ancestors relied on for survival. Our comfortable, safe environments don't activate the adaptive systems that Ice Age people use daily. Some researchers argue that many modern psychological and physical health problems result from genetic systems that were designed for Ice Age challenges, but don't function properly in contemporary environments. Your genes expect you to face physical challenges, work cooperatively with others, and live closely connected to natural cycles. The practical application of this knowledge is significant. Understanding your Ice Age genetic programming can help you make lifestyle choices that work with your inherited traits rather than against them. You can structure your environment, relationships, and activities to activate positive genetic legacies from your ancestors. The most inspiring aspect of Ice Age genetic research is what it reveals about human potential. Your ancestors faced challenges that make modern problems seem manageable, yet they not only survived but created rich, meaningful lives. Their strength, intelligence, and resilience live on in your DNA. You are literally descended from thousands of generations of successful survivors. Every person in your ancestral line lived long enough to have children who also survived to reproduce. This means you carry genetic programming from an unbroken chain of people who overcame incredible challenges. The Ice Age experience shaped humanity in ways that continue to influence our species thousands of years later. The cooperation, innovation, and resilience that kept our ancestors alive became the foundation for every human achievement that followed. As we finish this journey through Ice Age survival and wisdom, remember that you carry within yourself the genetic legacy of master survivors. Their strength is your strength. Their intelligence is your intelligence. Their ability to overcome impossible challenges lives on in your DNA. The next time you face a difficult situation, remember that you are descended from people who survived the Ice Age, one of the most challenging periods in human history. You've inherited genetic programming that has been tested and proven effective through thousands of years of survival challenges. Your ancestors didn't just survive the impossible, they used their experiences to build the foundation of human civilization. Their legacy lives on not just in archaeological sites and ancient artifacts, but in you. Every breath you take, every challenge you overcome, every act of kindness you perform continues the story that began around Ice Age fires thousands of years ago. If this journey through Ice Age survival has inspired you, please subscribe, like this video, and share it with others who need to understand the incredible strength and wisdom they carry in their DNA. The story of human survival and achievement is your story, and it's far from over. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey through time. Sweet dreams, and remember, you are the descendant of survivors.